What time is it? Podcast time. It's a celebration. What time is it? Podcast time. Hello and welcome to the It's Your Effin' Journey podcast. My name is Melissa Hemming. If a life coach and a therapist had a baby, you give me. I'm wearing my shirt that I told you guys about last week. Dump him. Maybe I should do a dump him, it's your effing journey style shirt because this is cute. I have been wanting to do this episode for such a long time, but sometimes shit happens like I have interviews or other things are more pressing, but I've had this one on the back of my mind for a while. And then something happened in real life last night, and I was like, this would tie in perfectly. So I was thinking about this. Like, I obviously, like, the way that the world is right now, it's impossible. I've talked about this before about how when you know better, you do better. And there's so many things that I'm learning about the patriarchy and the shit that we're just taught from our families, from the media, and learning to really like pay attention to what messages I've heard and live by are serving me or hindering me. And this came up. So, I don't know how much of this I've shared, and, it's really not my business to share, but for the purpose of this episode, I'm going to share it. And, anytime that I do mention my ex, I think I've mentioned this on the podcast before, but just an asterisk. Like anytime I mention my ex or other people in general, these are my experiences. And I try to really stick with my experience of it and not the other person, right? Because there's always two sides to every story. There's always, other people's experiences of things that we've been through. So my podcast is for me and it's my voice and it's my experience. And doesn't mean there's not other interpretations, but yeah, that's that. That's my little 2 cents about that. So my ex has moved on, like I have, but just in different ways. I don't really know the details of it, but I know that he has someone in his life. And it was funny because this was probably going on like 2 months at this point since it's happened, but we had some sort of issue. And I think it's interesting. Like this, it's almost been 2 years. Well, I mean, it's been a year and a half since he's moved out. Let's be real. And so it's a year and a half since he's moved out, and it's been like a roller coaster of emotion, as you can imagine. If you've been through a breakup, you get it. It's not always a smooth line. It's not always smooth sailing, and feelings are going to come up, especially as other people get involved. I'm not naive to that. And and I think sometimes too, the more smooth it gets, the whenever it sort of gets bumpy or rough again, you're like, fuck, like I liked it when it was smooth. Like it's hard to sort of navigate again. You're like, shit, I'm off the rails again, or shit has fallen apart again. Like I just wanted to be cool again or easy or flowing. And so we had a snafu in our relationship. And what did I do? Without having any information, without even critically thinking about this, I blamed the girlfriend. I'm embarrassed to even say it, but I did. I blamed the girlfriend. And for a good 24 hours, a good 24 hours. Like I'm not even gonna like I'm gonna be held accountable to my actions. For like 24 hours, I blamed the girlfriend, not my ex, who was the one exhibiting poor behavior, poor emotional response, poor communication skills. I blamed the girlfriend. And I just want you to sit with that for a minute because I feel like in other conversations with other maybe less healed people, you'll hear things like that. And then maybe the other person you're talking to will be like, oh yeah, like fucking she sucks. And they'll meet you right where you're at with it. And this is why I have this podcast, right? To give you sort of the other thing to think about and obviously to share my experience and what I've learned. But after the fact, 24 hours after I was blaming the girlfriend, it hit me that I was again to skirt away from the accountability that he deserved to take in this situation. And again, I am not saying he is a bad person. I am not saying that I don't do things wrong or incorrectly. I'm just saying that in this particular instance, instead of allowing this man to take action and responsibility and accountability for his own actions, I, as the female, was blaming his girlfriend. And I just want you to understand how fucking crazy that is. We see it all the time, right? Men cheat. And who do the women get pissed off at? The person that he cheated with. Granted, maybe they knew about the situation. Maybe they were aware that he was in a relationship. But still, that person, that woman, has no loyalty to you. Your husband, your boyfriend, that is who owes you loyalty and honesty and trust. Why do we blame the other woman? And then it got me thinking about, and this episode's probably going to get me in a lot of trouble, but I got to share what's on my heart, y'all. So the family that I married into was very male energy heavy centered. And I think that was because that was the core component of the family, and the wives were extended out, right? So all the wives were not the blood, the fam. They were added in, they were married in. And the way that I see it now is I don't think we could have ever sort of succeeded, because any time there was an issue with one of the men, it was a blame on the women. And we did this with my father-in-law's wife. I mean, there was things about him that were sort of less than ideal, like just ways that he could have stepped up in the lives of our children and the lives of my ex. And who did we all fucking blame? His wife, who, again, why is it her responsibility? Why are we taking away the responsibility of the man to do what's right and blame it on the woman? And I can't, and so now, when you know better, you do better, and you just pay more attention to these things of like, okay, am I giving credit where it's due? Am I giving responsibility where it's due? Am I allowing for another man to be vanished of all of his crimes and put on the woman? Like, I feel terrible that this is what I did for so long. And now that I'm out of it, like, what? So last night I was at a Harvard Athletic women's game, and Tucker, my ex, has an entire extended family that, hasn't exactly always had his back and or ours. And there's been many times during my relationship with him where it was awkward and weird, and you feel a certain type of way from people. And you know what I always say, you always trust your gut. So if you're walking into a room that sort of you feel off in, there's probably a reason for it, unless you're typically paranoid, and then maybe talk with your therapist about that. But sometimes when you're walking into a room and you feel it. And then in contrast to that, you can also feel when you're really welcomed. And I felt at sometimes very welcomed by these people, but there were also times where I felt very not welcomed by these people. And so I learned to be aware of this feeling, and that, once you sort of get to enough times where it doesn't feel so good, you're like, maybe I'm not going to go into this situation anymore. But I have not seen these people since the split from my husband. And it was funny. So I'm walking, where, if you have to pick a location to run into your ex's entire family, your home stadium is going to be your best bet. Like that, like walking around my stadium. I mean, I'm a season ticket member for the men. I'm a season ticket for the women, and I'm walking around in that's my home turf. And so I couldn't think of a better place to have that happen, because anywhere else I probably would have been like, ugh, this feels really yucky. But I was like, this is my home. You're in my area. So I'm walking around the stadium before the game began, and I saw one of his cousins, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta text him and let him know his cousin is here. Walk a little bit further, and I see another one of his cousins, and this was one of the ones that I was the coolest with, and I took one look at him, and I could just feel like ice. But I gave him a hug anyway, said, hey, nice to see you. And then I turn the corner and I see not one, not two, not three, not five, not six, probably 10 more of his family members. And I'm like, oh, dear Jesus. And I could immediately feel it was very cold energy. And so I went to the patriarch, who has always been one of the nicest people. And I talked to him for a minute, gave him a hug, and he was really nice. But the feeling that I got, and like, you know me, I overthink all the fucking time. So I thought about this the whole night and this morning a little bit. And, there's a couple things. Like, could they have been uncomfortable? Perhaps. Are they, defending their person by being cold to me? I mean, I really think that that is so juvenile. Like, we are adults. Me and him have children. He was the first person I called the minute I walked away from that interaction because it was so fucking weird and I knew he would be the only one who would understand it. Like, there's only been a handful of people who have, like, at least for me, who have drawn a line in the sand and been like, I am choosing a side. And I'm like, that is so dumb. Like, we're adults. We're cool. Like, my parents have taken him in unlike his family has ever done. So why you would, like, hate or be cold to me just because our marriage didn't work out? Like, I think about that. I'm like, so forget me as a person. You only liked me when I fit that role for him. And maybe you did. Maybe you were like, I can't fucking stand her, but I'll stand her just because she's his wife. Okay, then I get that. But to just, like, she's not the wife anymore, so we're gonna be cold and standoffish, even though for the last fucking 20 years I've seen you and been cool with you. Like, it's so weird to me. And again, from the other end of that, it's like, here's this situation that I'm being blamed for hurting my husband, when in reality our relationship deteriorated from the both of us. Neither one of us are innocent, if you will, and neither one of us are guilty, if you will. We had a marriage that didn't work out. And as humans, why you wouldn't just be kind to all parties, especially given the fact that, like, children are involved, like, really fucking lame and immature. Honestly, I expected nothing different from them. So it's not like I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I can fucking believe it. And as I said, like, the minute I finished up with them, I called Tucker and I was like, I can't fucking believe who I just saw. And you want to know about, because we know how we've been treated by them in the past together. So I'm like, yeah, you want to know what it's like to feel uncomfortable around them? Try breaking up with you, because I just did it and I just had that experience. So I wanted to share all this because, you know, stop blaming the fucking woman for shit that a man is doing. And not automatically, right? Like, I'm not saying it's always the guy's fault. I'm just saying, be able to critically think about the opinions that you're having, the thoughts that you're having. And, like, ultimately, my goal in life is to be kind and to show compassion and empathy and understanding. And my ability to do that has nothing to do with who someone is married to. And that's also why I think, like, I have a sister-in-law from my marriage that I love, and I will always call her my sister-in-law. And I was talking about this the other day with a bunch of people about keeping in touch with, like, your ex's family or whatever. And I think for us, she's not my husband's sister. She's my husband's brother's wife. So again, like, we're both outsiders, and I think because of that, it's easier to sort of maintain our friendship and relationship, because I mean, maybe there is a perceived loyalty, but I've never, and that's the crazy part too. That's his extended family that I saw last night at the game. His immediate family hasn't given me any of that shade. So why would you? Like, it's just like, what? Like, what? Like, I almost wanted to, like, FaceTime him from the game and be like, hey, like, look who I got on the phone. We're cool, so you don't have to be a douchebag. But I think I'm also a little bit butthurt because like there were times where they weren't the nicest to my children and their children weren't the nicest to my children. So like there's a little bit of like bad blood there, but whatever. It is what it is. I don't have to be around them anymore ever. So I could have walked away from that situation not even saying hello. And that's not how I'm going to roll because I don't know. Maybe I will next time. If I see that whole fucking crew there next time, maybe I'll just walk the fuck away. But what a wild ride. What a wild, wild ride of just being aware. And I felt really bad after the fact of blaming Tucker's girlfriend for all of that because it's just, I think because for so long in my marriage, I took on ownership of managing people's feelings. And I'm just so done with that. And I couldn't believe that I said no more for me. And now I'm going to put that on her. It's her responsibility to manage his emotions. And it's fucking not. It's his. It's his 100%. So stop allowing men to skate off into the sunset and blame women for their wrongdoings. And this goes back, I mean, I could take this down 1,000 rabbit holes, like with the fucking Epstein files. Like, why the fuck men are walking around to have been accused of raping women, children, killing babies is beyond me. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. But so I mean at a micro level, let's stop this shit now, and at a macro level, let's hold these fucking men accountable. And I mean I shouldn't even mention the Epstein files in this episode because those are two very different situations. But I think when you look at like dismantling the patriarchy, it starts with those little things and it extends to bigger things. And when men aren't held accountable or responsible for their own actions and behavior, I think that's the result, right? Like, how long have we been living in this society with all of these ideas that we don't even know where they came from, right? And I think the Epstein files opened our eyes to all of this because it was like, wait, what? The amount of years that all of this grooming has been happening through the media and through our society and the cover-ups, it's wild. So if this episode spoke out to you at all, please share it with a friend, take a screenshot, share it in your stories. I appreciate you being here so much, and we'll see you next week.